මොකද ඒ රටවල මේ අය අපි තරම්ම මේ බලධාරීන්ව සැක කරන්නේ අවිශ්වාස කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒව කරන්නේ මේ පබ්ලික් ප්‍රොසීඩින්ග්ස් වල තමයි කරන්නේ. හැමදේම පාරදෘශ්‍යව විවෘතව තමයි මේ සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ. නමුත් ඒවා මේ ඒ ආයතන වලට දීලා කරන මේකක් නෑ. නමුත් අපි එහෙම කරාට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. අපේ රටේ තියෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව අපි සහ නියාමනයට යන එක තමයි කරන්නේ.
ඔව්. අද විද්‍යා සාකච්ඡාව අපි අවසානයේ තියාගත්තේ ආචාර්ය පක්ෂෝත් සරණමුතු මහතාට අපිට චරිත පාර්ලිමේන්තු පන්ති චරිත හේරත් මහතා පාර්ලිමේන්තු පිටත් වන බව දැනුම් දීලා තියෙනවා. කෙසේතත් අපි පාක්ෂෝති සරණමුතු මහතාට ආරාධනා කරන්න ආචාර්යතුමාට මේ සාකච්ඡාව ඔහු අතර මේ වැදගත් වෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන් වැදගත් වෙන්නේ උදාහරණ පරීක්ෂකයෙක් ප්‍රතිපත්ති විශ්ලේෂකයෙක් හැටියට ඒ වගේම සමාජ ක්‍රියාකාරකයෙක් හැටියට මෙවැනි දේවල් පිළිබඳ අවධානය යොමු කරන කෙනෙක් හැටියටයි අපි ඔබ ආරාධනා කරේ. මම ගෞරවයෙන් ආරාධනා කරනවා ආචාර්ය පාක්ෂෝති සරණමුතු මහතාට ඕකේ ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න.
Good evening, everyone, members of the other speakers, members of the audience. First of all, let me thank the Free Media Movement for asking me to come and speak at this event. As some of you may know, my association and CPA's association with the Free Media Movement actually goes back to the 1997 Broadcasting Bill, where we all worked together to petition the Supreme Court to strike down the bill. And what is more, we also worked together thereafter to come up with what was called the Colombo Declaration on Media Freedom and Social Responsibility, which was the parent document, if you like, for the whole idea of media self-regulation, and indeed the Sri Lanka Press Institute. So there is a sense of, the more things change, the more they remain the same insofar as the idea about controlling the media is something that governments can never get rid of. I won't go into the legal aspects. I won't go into the whole questions of the contradictions, the difference between the similar translation or the similar version of the bill and the English version of the bill, because after all, in Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan Parliament has voted on bills which they have never read. They voted not on bills which they have never read, they have voted on amendments to the Constitution, which they had no idea about. So let's leave that aside for the moment. What I want to say to you is this. Why do we need a bill of this nature, a commission of this nature? And why now? This is the 21st century. This is the 21st century of a globalized world. Governments should understand that they cannot control technology in particular. Sometimes we are given the statistic that by 2030 or whatever it is, 35% of the jobs in the world will be done by AI, artificial intelligence. We are living in a world, therefore, in which the ability of government to control things is reducing considerably. Okay? Therefore, at the same time, there is a responsibility on the part of society to make sure that there is justice, there is equity, there is social order, and that there are ethics and moral standards as far as public life is concerned. So the first point that I want to make to you is this, is that I am personally in favor of the whole self-regulatory argument. However, we have to make sure that those who are going to regulate themselves are aware of the responsibilities, have the capabilities to do so. And that, of course, is something that can evolve by continuing experience of doing this self-regulation. But the problem I think that we have in Sri Lanka is that we have now moved towards the idea of commissions, committees, and all of them, without recognizing that institutions can be set up, laws can be passed, but you need the people who understand the intention of those institutions, of why they were set up, in order for them to function in the way that they were intended to. We can make institutions and laws. Can we make new people? Is the question. If that is good. Can we actually make new people who will understand the responsibility that they are entrusted with? Because in Sri Lanka, we don't honor the distinction between a state institution and a governmental institution. A governmental institution can be set up by the party that has won power and formed the government. But the state institution is for the state of the country. It has to be non-partisan. Ultimately, its integrity is what makes it a state institution, because it's an institution that serves all the people of the country without fear or failure. And that is why this commission, the way that it is to be constituted, the powers that it is to be granted, cannot be supported. We will all have to, if it does come to the point at which there is a danger that it might be passed, we will all have to go to court and make sure that it is thrown out. Like what happened in 1997, as Rohan said, a remarkable judgment where the entirety of the bill was dismissed by the court. Yeah? So we have to make sure that that does happen in that way. Now, with regard to the whole question of what should be done, as I said, I am in favor of the whole self-regulatory idea. But perhaps there could be a core set of principles, a core set of guidelines within which those self-regulatory principles in turn can be found. I think what we have to move to is that partnership, if you like, between government and society, or civil society broadly defined, where there is an agreement between the two about what ought to be the case with regard to broadcasting media. I think that is important, because giving it entirely to the private sector or giving it entirely to the public sector is only going to destroy the trust and confidence that people should have with regard to the media. After all, media is pivotal to the whole idea of representative democracy. People have to know about the candidates, know about the policies, not the distorted versions, in order to make informed choices. Therefore, it is absolutely necessary that one strives for the independence and integrity that we are talking about. It won't happen probably at the start, but it will happen over time. Now, what should we do apart from going to court in the ultimate if the government brings this bill to Parliament? I think it's important that as we, as I said, live in a globalized society, that we inform our own people, our own fellow citizens, about the dangers of this bill, but quite frankly, there is an international civil society. There are foreign governments which help us to develop. They're all our partners. And we should inform them, keep them in the loop, as it were, so that when the time comes, they can all turn around and tell the government, look, this is just not on. That, I submit to you, is what happened with regard to the Anti-Terrorism Act. As you know, GSP Plus, trade concession, is based on signature and ratification and implementation of 27 human rights and international labor standards. And I think in private, the European Union told the government, if you go ahead with this as it is, you won't get GSP Plus. So we have to recognize that there has to be a coalition, as it were, between us domestically and those who are our friends internationally, whether it be the UN Human Rights Council, whether it be the Commonwealth Press Union or whoever, that we have to bring into this to strengthen our efforts. But primarily, of course, it must be something that we do. And in that respect, I want to say to you that the responsibility as far as this issue is concerned is on you and us, the broadcasting media and the citizenry of this country. How many of you in the audience represent the broadcast media? I suspect not too many. Where are they? Where is the passion, the commitment, the conviction that this is an important issue, that this is about democratic backsliding, that this is a bill that could take away from the fundamental rights and freedoms that we are born with? Without that passion, without that conviction, and it not just with regard to broadcasting media, laws in this country will be made in air-conditioned rooms by people who know very little about what they're talking about, except that the whole function of the law